Hi, Bart Jackson with American Family Insurance. Oh, nothing better than taking a ride on a motorcycle. So today we're actually going to talk about some coverages on motorcycles. One of the things I always like hearing from everybody is, why do I need to keep an insurance policy on my motorcycle for the full year? Well, for one, we know in Minnesota you can't ride your motorcycle all year, for the most part. But we know that things can happen to the motorcycles. So some of the things that happen is you could have a fire in your home, and if your bike is not insured, then your bike could get damaged and there wouldn't be any coverages. Or one very sad situation is we had this wonderful mechanic, his shop burned down with all these motorcycles in it, and so those folks that had insurance on their motorcycles were taken care of. Those that weren't, they're having to wait for a very long process and hope to have everything taken care of. So again, having your motorcycle insured 24 hours a day, 365 days a year is smart on your part to protect your investments. They're a lot of fun, and we have to be very careful with them, with all the things that can happen. Well, let me talk a little bit about liability. A lot of times when I'm talking to folks about liability, they ask me what they should have. So I'm going to start a little bit on liability, and this is for autos, motorcycles, ATVs, your snowmobiles, any razors, things like that. This will cover those too. So we'll just try to keep it easy and quick. So in the state of Minnesota, we have a state minimum of $30,000 per person, $60,000 per incident if there's multiple people hurt, and $10,000 for property damage. So again, in Minnesota, this is what we are minimally required to have. It's been set for decades. So the 30 stands for $30,000. So let's say that I'm driving down the road and I hit another car and someone in that car is hurt. Well, this $30,000 goes to provide them for their injuries. And if there's more than one person in the car, the max that the insurance would have paid is $60,000 or $60,000 for them. So that way those other two people, any one can have up to $30,000 for that incident. But if there's multiple people, there's up to 60. So there could be 6 people all getting $6,000 as an example. And then again, the 10 for $10,000 is, let's say you run a curb and you run over someone's fence. Well, that property damage has to be replaced for that individual whose fence just got knocked down. So that's what that's for. Or if you just run in the back end of someone's car. Have you seen any cars that are only worth about $10,000? Now the cars are getting so expensive. So this number, well actually all these numbers, really are too low for all of our needs. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going to talk to you about them. There's also combined single limits. So unlike the split limits that I just discussed with you, there's also the combined single limit, or CSL, and an example would be $300,000. So the $300,000 is just one pot of money, where the other one, the split limits, there was $30,000 for one person. Well, in this case, it's $300,000. That could be for personal injury, that could be for property damage. It doesn't matter as long as it's, again, falls into that single limit. We won't talk much more about this, but I just wanted to make sure you knew about it. There's also uninsured and underinsured motorist coverages. So an example where we took the minimum state minimum, that $30,000 or $30,000 per one person. So again, you hit one person, that one person can get up to $30,000 for that injury. Or if there's more than one person, then that those multiple people would have a maximum of $60,000 to protect them. Well, what this is in case you are hurt by another automobile. So let's say that you're sitting at the stop sign and you can go, and someone to your right completely misseen you and they hit you and they've hurt you. If they have not any insurance, your uninsured motorist will pay for your injuries. So this is for you personally or someone in your vehicle. The $60,000 then stands for multiple people in the car. Again, any one person can have $30,000. So this is why I want to talk especially about motorcycles, because these limits are way too low, especially if you get hurt. So why am I talking about liability limits? And what should I have for my motorcycle or my auto? So we know that accidents happen. Other drivers not only can miss a motorcycle, but they also miss other cars, trucks, and semis. Even vehicles with auto drive has missed vehicles like a semi-truck. So we know accidents happen and we should be prepared for that. Talk about higher limits. This is just an example of that different amounts that you can have. You can have higher limits than this as well. But again, just wanted to kind of give you an idea. So in this case, this is $250, $500, $250. So this is $250,000 per person, $500,000 for any one accident, and then $250,000 for a vehicle or a house or, well, one insured mine hit the power pole behind Ivy, and that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. So again, these are available, and if you look at this, you have up to $500,000 for any one incident and $250,000 for any property damage. So that gives you a total of $750,000 available. And then we'd also talked about the combined single limit. So let's say you have $500,000. Again, $500,000 can be used. But I just wanted to show you, again, you can add these two up to see this value or just that value. And are my uninsured motorists or my underinsured motorists, are those limits automatically the same as my liability limits? Well, in most cases, they should always be. But occasionally we see insurance companies or agents, they lower the uninsured and underinsured motorist coverages from what the liability really is. Well, if you're on a motorcycle and when I'm out riding, I want to make sure that if someone accidentally doesn't see me and I get hurt, that I'll make sure that I have enough coverages on my own policy to make sure that I can still pay my bills, make sure I can replace my motorcycle. I just want to make sure that regardless of whoever had that incident with me, that I'm going to be covered and that I'm going to have sufficient limits. Again, we've just been talking about some examples. Everybody's limits should be different. Everything should always follow what you need. So let's talk about other things you can do. An umbrella insurance. We talked a little bit about umbrellas before, but what they do is no matter what you have, as long as you insure it with your insurer, the umbrella is an excess liability policy. So if you have an accident and you hurt somebody, and let's say you have $250,000 limit of coverage for that one person, and you also have an umbrella, which they always start at least $1 million, then really,
there you go.
At least you have $1.25 million to protect you from unfortunately hurting somebody else. For me as a motorcyclist, I also am happy that I have an uninsured and underinsured endorsement for my umbrella. And what this does is for additional cost, you can add this, and most companies have it, so you can just ask. And what it does is it provides me with coverage up to an additional $1 million in case I'm hurt from someone that has no insurance or doesn't have enough insurance to cover my needs. And again, that's an umbrella insurance policy. These are all a lot of things. I hope that I've made it simple, and if you have questions, I'd love for you to give me a call. Again, my name is Bart Jackson with American Family here in Faribault. My number is 507-332-6812, and see you out on the roads.